John Deere 730. Ladies and gentlemen, there are sounds that we can never forget. The deep rumble of the engine reverberating across the fields at dawn, the sound of a tractor plowing the motherland in the morning mist, or simply the soft screech when shifting gears on a machine that has been with us for a lifetime. And in that treasure trove of sounds, we cannot help but mention the distinctive roar of the John Deere 730, the tractor that many of us, true farmers, have driven and placed our trust in. Today, I invite you to sit down and review with me an icon, a tractor that not only makes crops, but also deeply imprints in our minds as a part of the soul of the American countryside. Manufactured from 1958 to 1961 in Waterloo, Iowa, the 730 is the final voice of an era, powerful, intimate, and very human. At that time, tractors were gradually changing. Many manufacturers switched to more complex, multi-cylinder engines. But the John Deere 730 remained loyal to the large, powerful two-cylinder engine, creating a very characteristic pop-pop sound that anyone who heard it once would never forget. Equipped with many fuel options, gasoline, diesel, and LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. But it must be said that the diesel version was the real warhorse. Capacity up to 65 horsepower, an impressive number at that time. Diesel engine capacity 6.2 liters, enough to pull the whole sky. Two opposite cylinders, powerful, durable, and especially easy to maintain, a big plus for farmers at that time. The 730 was not only powerful but also smart. It was one of the first tractors to be equipped with an electric starter for the diesel engine, instead of using an auxiliary engine, pony motor, like previous generations. This made starting on cold winter mornings much easier. The 730 is not flashy. It does not have sexy curves or complicated colors. But looking at it, you feel trust. The kind of trust that can only be had when we have overcome many harvests together. The steering system of the 730 is purely mechanical. There is no power assist like modern machines, but that is what helps the driver feel more clearly every beat of the ground, every force. It makes the driver and the machine become one, a feeling that only those who have driven the 730 can understand. There is something very special about the John Deere 730. People remember it not only for its power, but for its affection. For many people over 65 today, the 730 is a treasure trove of memories. It's the first springs of youth, the pride of planting the first crop. In many rural areas of America, the John Deere 730 is still running well after more than 60 years. It's an undeniable testament to quality, durability, and the loyalty of farmers to what's truly good. Ladies and gentlemen, there may be a lot of modern tractors on the market today, with touchscreens, autopilot systems, and cutting-edge technology. But is there one that makes your heart flutter like the pop-pop of a John Deere 730? Is there one that makes you pause as you run your hand over the old blue paint, remembering your father's hands on the wheel? If you still have your 730 in storage, don't sell it, don't take it apart. Preserve it, cherish it, because you are preserving a piece of history. And if you ever get the chance to sit on a 730, press the clutch, hear the explosion in the morning mist, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and smile, because you are reliving an unforgettable era. Farmall H. There are some things that only get better with age, like the sweetness of iced tea on a summer afternoon, like the smell of the earth after the first rain of the season, and like the Farmall H tractor, the bright red machine that was once the beating heart of the vast fields of wheat and corn across the Midwest. Manufactured from 1939 to 1953 by International Harvester, one of the biggest names of its time, the Farmall H was the epitome of a tractor that no frills, just works, and works hard. With more than 390,000 built, the Farmall H is one of the best-selling tractors in American history. Not because it was the cheapest, nor because it was the most powerful, but because it was just right, strong enough, durable enough, economical enough, and easy to repair enough that every farmer, from North Dakota to Arkansas, could rely on it. The Farmall H is powered by a 4-cylinder, liquid-cooled gasoline engine with a displacement of about 2.5 liters. It sounds simple, but it is that simplicity that makes this machine strong. About 24 horsepower at the traction shaft, enough to pull a plow, pull a trailer, carry rice, make straw, and still save fuel. The compression ratio is only about 5.91, making the machine easy to start even on cold winter mornings. The cylinder bore and piston stroke are 3.375 by 4.25 inches, a golden ratio that brings stable performance, less wear. The Farmall H's transmission has 5 forward gears and 1 reverse gear. Simple, easy to use, but flexible enough to go from soft rice fields to hard trails, from pulling a thresher to carrying manure to the barn. This machine uses rear-wheel drive, 2WD, with a mechanical steering system. There was no power steering like modern machines, but that allowed the driver to feel every grain of soil under the wheels, a feeling that, I must say, not many young people experience today. Moreover, due to the modular design, the components are easy to disassemble and replace. That is why today, more than 70 years later, there are still many Farmall H's that are still running smoothly, not thanks to engineers, but thanks to the calloused hands familiar with the smell of grease of the village workers. Ladies and gentlemen, when I asked an old friend in Nebraska what the first tractor he drove was, he just smiled, put his hand on my shoulder, and said, "What else but the Farmall H?" Someone once called the Farmall H the storytelling tractor, and I completely agree. It did more than plow. It pulled sweet memories, endless afternoons, and harvests that were both tiring and full of hope. Why is the Farmall H one of the best tractors of all time? Mass-produced, popular across the United States. Stable performance, easy to maintain, durable over time. Diverse variations, meeting many agricultural needs. Easy to control, friendly to drivers of all ages. And most importantly, attached to the soul of American farmers, the people who built this country from each stubble, each field. The Farmall H is not flashy. It does not have GPS, no heated seats, no LED lights, but it has something that many modern machines will never have: feelings, trust, and memories. If you still have a Farmall H in your shed, in your backyard, or in your heart, keep it as a treasure, because it is not just a machine, but a witness to an era full of love. And if you've never driven a Farmall H and have only heard of it through hearsay, please take one time, just one time, to a vintage tractor show, climb into the driver's seat, put your hands on the wheel, and let that deep, warm engine sound take you back to yourself. Allis Chalmers WC. The 1930s, the time when America was struggling in the crisis of the Great Depression. Farmers, the backbone of the agricultural economy, needed something new, a breath of fresh air in the storm of hardship. And then in 1933, the Allis Chalmers WC appeared, a tractor that was not flashy, but it had what many other machines did not have: practicality, durability, and reasonable price. It was born to serve row farmers, those who held the heart of the American fields. And yes, it not only served, but also accompanied, became a part of life. At first glance, the Allis Chalmers WC had a sturdy, rough appearance, but it was that rustic look that made people trust. The 4-cylinder engine, with a bore and stroke of 4 inches, was a groundbreaking square design for its time. Many thought it would be inefficient, but the WC proved otherwise. It was as powerful and durable as the farmers who drove it. The transmission was 4 forward, 1 reverse. No need to be complicated, just right. And the steel seat, that open seat, though not comfortable, was as real as the earth, as solid as a tree stump, as if to say, "Sit here, I'll be with you all season long." Remember? Before rubber tires, we worked with heavy, rough iron wheels. They shook, eroded the ground, and were difficult to control. But the WC became one of the first tractors in Nebraska to be tested with rubber tires. And from then on, it not only operated more smoothly, but also signaled a new era where agriculture was approached with more friendly and efficient improvements. Perhaps young people today can hardly understand the feeling of early morning when the sunlight just shone through the corrugated iron roof of the warehouse. You stepped out and saw the WC waiting for you under the old apple tree. The sound of the engine chugging, 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 like the sound of a heart beating in the middle of the field. You sat on the seat, put the gear shift in first position, then gently released the clutch. The tractor slowly moved forward, carrying with it a day of labor and faith in the harvest. From 1933 to 1948, more than 178,000 WCs were produced. Each one had a story, a piece in the big picture of American agriculture. Some lay dormant in the warehouse after decades of service. Some were restored and put on display as historical icons. And there is one that still starts every day, plowing deep into the soil as if it never gets tired. If you have ever driven a WC before 1938 and then tried the improved version, you will immediately see the difference. The round radiator, the larger tires, and the new design style bring a more modern breath, more flexible on many types of terrain. It is like a farmer entering middle age, still the same person, but more mature, more experienced. Still the WC, but ripe in experience and perfected in performance. If you are watching this video and have ever held the steering wheel of a WC, have ever maintained it with your own hands, have let your grandson climb on the seat, play with the gear lever, and grin when the engine roars, then you understand. This machine is more than just a tractor. It is part of the family. A companion on the path of sowing and reaping, not just crops, but also dreams and hopes. And if you can, take your grandchildren out, put them in the driver's seat, and tell them the story of the greatest tractor of all time, the Allis Chalmers WC. Ford 8N. Come with us on a journey back in time to the days when the Ford 8N tractor was not just a tool, but a companion, a pillar that held up an entire family, even an entire community. If you have ever stood on a dusty field in the sunset with your tanned hands gripping the cold steel steering wheel, then I am sure in your memory the Ford 8N is still as vivid as ever. Launched in July 1947, just 2 years after the end of World War II, the Ford 8N appeared as a ray of light in the era of Reconstruction. Americans returned from the battlefield, carrying with them the desire to sow life from the seeds that had been scattered by the war. And they needed something, a powerful, durable, easy-to-use machine that could accompany them on every furrow. The Ford 8N was not just an upgrade of the 9N and 2N. It was a revolution in the mechanization of rural America. With its two-tone red and gray design, this machine quickly became a symbol of the golden age of agriculture. In just 5 years, more than 530,000 were sold. To put that in perspective, it was as if every small village in America had at least one 8N as its centerpiece. The 8N was more than just a beautiful frame. Under the thick steel shell was a 2.0-liter four-cylinder gasoline engine that could produce more than 27 horsepower, an impressive figure at the time. I remember very clearly, one morning in early spring 1951, my father, in a brand new 8N, plowed 40 acres without stopping. That machine never complained, never groaned. It just needs oil, a little care, and a little love from the driver. The 4-speed forward and 1 reverse transmission allows for flexible operation on many terrains. Even with the improved PTO, The Ford 8N can pull almost any attachment, mowers, plows, seeders, even horse-drawn tractors, if you still have the nostalgic spirit. What makes the Ford 8N a farmer's machine is the legendary Ferguson System 3-point system. The powerful hydraulic system with a pressure of 1,700 psi, a capacity of up to 5 gallons, helps the driver adjust the auxiliary equipment with absolute precision. It feels as if you and the 8N are a pair of dancers in the vast field. One leads, the other follows, in rhythm like a waltz in the harvest season. Another unique feature is the large rear wheel, which helps grip the ground firmly, while the small front wheel is flexible, just like the feet of a skilled plowman. The Ford 8N is part of the family, a member who doesn't talk but does, doesn't ask but always gives. Today, thousands of Ford 8Ns are still running well across America. Some have been restored to pristine condition. Some are covered in mud, but their iron hearts still beat as steadily as in 1947. If you've ever driven an 8N, heard the engine roar on a cold October morning, or changed spark plugs in the drizzle to make it to harvest time, congratulations, you're part of a legend. The Ford 8N is more than just a machine. It's a symbol of resilience. It's a pure spirit, where people and land are united, where sweat and achievement go hand in hand. If you still have an 8N in your barn, go out there tomorrow morning, put your hands on the wheel, and remember, we used to go through the crops together, and we can still do it. International Harvester 856. If you were a person who lived in the late 60s, used to go out to the fields in the sun, used to breathe in the smell of dry straw mixed with the smell of engine oil and red soil, surely the name 856 will awaken in you a deep nostalgia. In 1967, during the period when America was entering a period of acceleration in agriculture and technology, International Harvester launched the 856 series as a strong statement. We are ready for bigger challenges, and so are American farmers. The 856 is an excellent successor to the 806 series, but it is not simply an upgrade. It is the crystallization of decades of experience, of understanding farmers, and of a dream to master the land with less sweat and more hope. What makes the 856 stand out is its steel heart, the 6.7-liter D407 six-cylinder diesel engine. Powerful, durable, and smooth, it produces 110 horsepower, enough to pull large equipment and tackle the driest fields. I still remember the first day my father brought the 856 to the farm. The whole village came to watch as if welcoming a hero back from war. It was huge, roaring like a lion, but gentle when going through the furrows, as if it understood every breath of the field. With an 8-speed forward, 4-speed reverse transmission system, and an optional torque amplifier, the 856 allows the driver to adjust the traction according to the needs of the job, whether plowing, sowing, or pulling a hay bin. Unlike the small tractors of the previous decade, the 856 has the appearance of a grown man, solid, dignified, and decisive. But thanks to its smart design and reasonable weight distribution, the driving feeling is very soft and flexible. The Farmall 856, the row crop version, is especially popular thanks to its flexible operation between rows of crops. The standard International 856 is like a bull trampling hard on rocky ground, strong and not afraid of any task. The 856 does not only know how to pull, it also knows how to work together. With a powerful hydraulic system, a flow of 12 gallons a minute, this machine can smoothly operate equipment such as plows, harrows, planters, or even trailers loaded with hay. The independent PTO shaft, rotating at 540 RPM, is the gateway between the 856 and the world of farm implements, like a blacksmith's hand grasping a hammer, decisive, sure, and efficient. If you've ever sat behind the wheel of an 856, you'll surely remember the crisp sound of the engine in the early morning, the smell of diesel fumes mixed with dew, and the sunlight slanting through the rims. It's a moment long gone that remains as etched in your mind as the calluses on a farmer's palm. From 1967 to 1971, tens of thousands of 856s were produced, and many of them are still running today. Loved, restored, freshly painted, cared for like a family treasure. Many vintage tractor fairs today still have a dedicated section for the 856, where former farmers bring their grandchildren to see it, telling stories of their youth when the whole family worked together, dreamed together, and grew up together amidst the sound of the machine and the smell of the earth. And if you happen to pass by an 856 today, stop for a moment, put your hand on the hood still warmed by the sun, and whisper, "Thank you for helping us build a glorious era." Dear friends, so today we have looked back together at a glorious period when tractors were not only working tools, but also loyal companions in the fields, witnesses of many bumper crops, the sound of the machine blending with children's laughter, the calls of each other in the hot summer afternoon. Although time passes, although technology changes, tractors like John Deere 730, Farmall H, Ford 8N, or International Harvester 856 still live forever in the memories of many generations. If you have ever driven one of those tractors, driven it through green rice fields or golden cornfields, please share your story with us. We believe that your memories, no matter how small, are an indispensable part of agricultural history. And if you like videos like this, please click like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so that every week we can return together to those memorable years where every engine sound is also the heartbeat of a generation of hardworking and kind people. Finally, thank you for taking the time to listen, to reminisce, and to motivate us to continue making content full of emotions, nostalgia, and value like this. See you in the next videos.